Hello and welcome to the Soulful Mamas podcast. You're with your host Maria, and I am so pleased you're here. I have got such an inspiring, incredible guest for you to listen to today. Her name is Heidi Timms, and gosh, we went intergalactic pretty quickly. So it's such an inspiring conversation about. We cover so many things. We literally are dancing around the universe, but from world schooling, deschooling, radical unschooling, Waldorf education, raising starseed children, growing a spiritual business, all sorts of things. It's quite incredible. Before I get into it, I just need to put a little reminder out there because if you know me, I'm not that great at remembering to do these things. I have a little offering that starts tomorrow, which is Thursday, the 16th of May, and I'm running a 6-week online program basically, and we meet once a week, Thursday evening at 7:30 New Zealand time, and we are working through the wheel of the year, so the turn of the wheel from autumn into winter, and we will finish on winter around winter solstice. So it's for women, it's for mothers who are wanting to go a little bit deeper with their connection to themselves, to the earth, to their intuition, to the essence, really. So we're looking at moon energies, rhythms, nature's rhythms, our own rhythms. What is self-care on a deeper level, right? True soul care. What really fills you up, and some really practical tools and tips and ways and guidance on how to achieve these and make them long lasting. So we cover a lot really, and there's time and opportunity for discussion and questions and sharing if that feels aligned. And it's a small group, and I do have some space left if you're interested. So if you are, just send me an email, maria@parentingwithsoul.com. So that starts Thursday, which is tomorrow, 16th of May, and I'll send you all the details. So just had to add that in. Right, back to Heidi. I think you just need to listen, really. Just listen to her beautiful words and her beautiful wisdom, and you will be taken to this magical place. So, without further ado, I bring to you Heidi Timms. Heidi, welcome. Welcome to the Soulful Mamas podcast.
Thank you. Thank you. So excited to be here finally.
Yeah, it's so good to see you and have you here. What a gift for us all. Do you want to share with us a little bit about your entry into motherhood and what that looked like for you?
Well, it was my journey came from I was with my ex-partner for 9 years, and then a couple of my really closest friends were having children at a very young age, and I wanted a baby, and my ex-partner and we were trying for a long time, and we didn't become pregnant. Well, I didn't become pregnant, I should say. And then that I left that relationship, and I met my partner, and I believed that it was me. And so we were together for 3 weeks, and I became pregnant because I believed that I was maybe infertile. So that was an interesting journey. And we were just getting to know each other. We had actually by that stage already actually fallen in love like I'd never experienced before. And then I became pregnant. So that was a really hard and fast journey into motherhood.
Mm.
Hi, nice to meet you. Oh, now we're having a baby.
By the way, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was my entry. I remember that moment so clearly, and it's now we have 3 children, Our eldest is 13 and a half, a boy, and then second soul, he is 12, and then my youngest is 4.5.
Hmm.
So yeah, my motherhood journey happened extremely fast and in a way that I never expected, and it has been one wild ride. And getting to know somebody along the journey of becoming a parent, I don't
Yes.
recommend it to anybody, but it's been beautiful and wild.
Yeah, I can
Yeah.
imagine that's pretty big.
Mm.
That's trying to, because you
Yeah.
don't know, you've not had any conversations about, becoming parents and what that would look
Absolutely.
like and how, and you don't even really know each other's values to the depth of,
Yeah.
is this going to align in terms of bringing a child into the world?
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that was quite the journey. And I mean, I know on a very much on a spiritual aspect that he wanted to come in really fast. That was what was happening. It was always preordained that that was
Hmm.
always going to happen. So I've always known that, and none of our children have been planned. They've come, and when they're ready. So, and I really trusted that, and so
Hmm.
grateful for all of them. So yeah, that's
Ah,
my entry into motherhood.
wow. Wow.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you find with your eldest stepping into that role of, from maiden into mother, was that a natural transition for you or was not?
Yeah. Yeah, it was actually. I always, ever since I was a little girl, I always wanted to have children. So that was never, I never questioned that. So that always felt really organic for
Hmm.
me. And in terms of, I had my first in sort of a little birthing at the time we were living in Byron Bay in Australia, and um, uh, there was a birthing kind of suite
Hmm.
beside the sort of the little country hospital that was there, because in Australia, home birthing is not really, you have to pay for it out of your own pocket. It's not like here in New Zealand where it's just part of the system. And so and also, your first time mum, it can feel really overwhelming because you don't know what your body is capable of.
Yeah.
And so I had an amazing birth with him. Um, I remember I was probably about 2 weeks over, and I wasn't concerned at all. And I just remember sitting down on the couch and going, "Ugh, when is this baby going to come?" And whoosh, my waters just broke. And so it was very comical. So, and it was a really, I mean, your first birth always feels like it's hard, but
Mm.
it was still a natural water birth. And it was, yeah, really, really beautiful. So I feel very blessed. I birth babies well. I feel sick as a dog for the first like
Mm.
half of it,
Yeah.
uh, being pregnant, but the last half is nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So were your three children born in Australia?
So Finn was born in Australia, and then Sol and Thea were born over here in New Zealand. So I had home births with both of those,
Okay.
both home births, both water births, and yeah, just amazing midwives. Just so blessed with the midwives I've had. Been very blessed in terms of having that first birth and going, okay, cool, I know what my body's capable of now. I got
Mm.
this. And I just had this absolute depth of knowing that we are built to birth babies. We are built
Yeah.
to birth them. We are built to feed them, and we are both built to care for them. And so I have had that knowing within the fabric of my being. So I birth my babies really well. And they've all been really healthy. We haven't introduced any, uh, any other, um, you know, jabs or anything like that. We have just purely used homeopathy and herbs for them, and they've been so healthy, so amazing,
Yeah.
So they're not sort of in that. And yeah, so I love, I would, if I didn't want any more children, I would still have more babies, because that just, I love that process. I love the birthing process. So yeah,
Mm,
it was, I feel very blessed to be able to have had that experience.
yeah. And it sounds like you're really in tune and able to fully trust yourself
Mm,
and any whatever came your way. There's a trust of, I do remember actually myself with Jack thinking, you know what, women have been doing this for probably millions of years. Like I am not special in terms of I'm not the only one that's about to do this thing. So
yes, yeah.
once I had that conversation with myself, this is not while I was in labor, it was prior to that, while I was trying to get my head around the fact that I was going to have a baby.
Mm,
Um, but and then it was all okay. Like you almost feel like, yes, you've got these your ancestors behind you holding you, these women,
yeah,
like, yes, of course you can do this. You were born to do this,
absolutely.
just like you're saying.
Absolutely.
Mm.
Absolutely. Oh, I love that. I love that analogy. Yeah, absolutely. 100%. And that's very, very much how I felt, because um, each of my children and I have are quite highly attuned, and so I've had incredible experiences whilst I was pregnant with them, through working with um, non-physical beings, and so that has I just knew that it wasn't just me birthing this baby, it was me birthing this very magical being into the world, and they chose me to be their guardian, because I don't feel like I'm a parent. I just feel like I'm just their guardian through this experience that we're all having.
Mhm.
Yeah.
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 Wow. Beautiful. Was that connection with the you know, other beings, with connecting with your baby as well, or
Yeah.
though,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Most definitely. It's sort of hard to put into human words, because it's such a like energy. Putting energy
Yeah.
into human words is just feels very elementary. But I when I was pregnant with my last child, Thea, she I had uh, a visitation by these non-physical beings, and they basically showed me my life and my story, and how they had come to me when I was a child and through my life. But your humanness just blanks them out, because
Mhm.
it's like, I can't, just, I'm not ready for this. And then when I was ready for it, then they came in, and it's all kind of, it interlinked through her. um, but then I've been working with this council through since I've had Thea, and this these they're called the Sirian Council of Light, and so we've been working together for since she was born, and showing me, sharing, teaching, all the things. So yeah,
Wow.
we
Is
got
that
into language
relate?
straight away.
Yeah. Is that related more specifically to Thea and your parenting, or actually what you're actually here in the world to do more so?
Both, both,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's all interweaved. Through from Thea, I she has how do I put this? So she has lots of different lineages that I've been shown, and then these non-physical beings, so the Syrian Council of Light, they are have been when I was in Seoul, when I came in, that was part of my contract, is to work with these beings, and so they and have these children, and to support these children, and to help them to expand their gifts. So that, yeah,
Wow.
it's such an interesting topic, because it's just that's just my life, and I don't really think much of it, and it's just that's just how it is, you know. But then you have a conversation with somebody, and they're like, "That's different."
Yeah, but it is,
Yeah.
but it isn't. But like
No, exactly.
you have quite highly tuned gifts for sure. But I think more and more people are interested, curious, and maybe can resonate with what you're saying, because there's that um, you know, that memory from childhood, our own childhood, of having this
Yep.
in some capacity,
Yeah.
having connection, communication, a something.
Yeah,
And then, like you say, you have to shut it down, put it in the boxes so you can operate in this world. And I think more of us have that than we know. And it's whether
absolutely.
you, and so the more we can hear these conversations, and I just want to make it as normal as possible, just
Yeah,
normalize it. Well, yeah, of
yeah,
course.
yeah.
That's stirring council of light. Yes, why not?
Yes,
Of course.
yes.
It's rather than it to be a what, it's
Yeah, yeah.
uh and it just opens up people's capacity to get curious and remember, have a
Yes.
remembering of themselves, and but also seeing others through another lens as well. Like, oh, we're not just these
Mm,
three-dimensional
absolutely.
little humans.
Absolutely.
There
Absolutely.
is,
And that's the piece in there that had really I knew when I had my first that um, it's like this balance between putting them into the world and them into this 3D experience and into schools and into, just family dynamics and just we're having that's what we chose, right?
mm,
And then so, but then also how as a parent to go, well, like I mean, I had quite a wild childhood. And so I was seeing all sorts, experiencing all sorts, and I numbed it all out because I didn't know what to do with it,
mm,
and I didn't have a guide, and so me coming on the other end of that and having children and then going, okay, cool, how can I guide them through
yeah,
so they don't shut that down, because that's what happens in this program is that that gets shut down. And so I've had to dance between making sure that my kids, when they when they're out in the world, aren't having these conversations that could potentially put them into a place where they might get bullied, or
mm,
they might get
mm,
judgments placed against them. And so but then at the same time we need these children who are coming through to be the breaker of chains, to step into that role and share and teach and show. And so that's been a really big journey.
yeah,
That one thing alone has been a really big journey. Inside the our home and in the conversations that I have with them, particularly my second, he's highly telepathic, and so it just blows my mind. He's so phenomenally attuned, and they all are in different ways. Finn has he can uh, he he has a lot of mediumship abilities, so that's his real gift. And then Sol has this, and then Thea is she's like she's she's off in cosmos, and so teaching and showing and allowing them to explore without me putting my ideas and just observing, because I've tried not to put too much in their mind because I want them to feel it. So
yeah,
that has been a really big journey of, okay, I can guide them, but I want them to feel it and I want it to come organically, and I don't want them to, for example, with Thea, like she just very organically started speaking light language, and I'm like, okay, cool. Right, all right, so I can guide that. So that has been a really big journey, because she's going to go to kindy and start speaking light language with her friends. And I'm like, oh gosh, okay, how do we? All right.
yeah.
So there's that dance. It's just a constant dance. And I guess when you get to our age and you you're like, this is what I am, like it all.
Mm,
And I've gone up against so much resistance and so much just releasing friendships and moving into higher states of my truth, then then I have the capacity to be able to hold that for my children, but then also have the awareness that um, some people have to lead that for others, to show them a path so they can step further and further into their truth. So yeah.
yeah, absolutely. It's
Yeah.
huge. It's
Mm,
huge. I love how you're saying you're guiding them and um, allowing them to feel what it is,
mm,
because each have got a different something coming through in a more dominant way. So,
Mm.
yeah, it is. It is a dance. How where does that? How does your partner fit in with that?
Yeah, and so that's been a big dance, right? Because he's very, very open, and I, there's always like a scale of like how much do we really share what for me with my work and what I do. I share um, maybe 70%, and there's that 30% of like that's just way too galactic for you and you won't compute, and so we're keeping that for me.
Mhm.
um, so that has been a dance with uh, like particularly well the light language and like codes and those aspects of it that have come through and that I had when I was a child, and then shut it all down, and then I was working with a client like clients, and I felt like somebody had their hands around my throat, and I was working with a really, really like the most gifted multi healer I've ever come across. I was working with him in the same clinic, and so I came out of with my client and went to him, and I explained to him like what is this, what is happening, because I'm this is constantly happening with me. And he said it's because you're not giving the client and showing the client what you're receiving, like telling them what you're receiving. And it could be vocal toning, it could be different pieces of information. So that was sort of like a bit of a key that unlocked it for me.
Mm.
um, and so um, so that now I really support in the kids. Thea particularly, because that's very natural in her. The boys just kind of, yeah, mum's just doing a thing again. They know.
Yeah.
um, but that has been the dance because you don't want your children to feel like they are being um, what's the word? I don't want to, not bullied, ostracized. I'm just trying to find the right word for it, but they are different, and you
Different.
want them,
Yeah.
yeah, you want them to feel like they belong and they fit into a group of people. And so uh, that's been a challenge to sort of do that dance, navigating through. I have not, definitely not cracked that code at all.
Mm.
But it's more that I feel like as he's evolved and his journey's evolved and his awareness has evolved, and as we're stepping into higher states of consciousness here on earth, then that allows that to be softened
Yeah.
and to just be a little bit more, um, yeah, it's like not accepted, but it softens it. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
been a journey. Yeah.
Yeah. Because you were also you did a bit of homeschooling for a little bit as well, is that right?
Yeah, yeah.
And now
For
you've stepped into
yeah.
the school. How has that been for you and your
Mm-hmm.
children?
So yeah, in 2019, we pulled our children out of school. So the the older boys, and which was just such divine timing, because then the world went mad in the next year. So they were already out of that whole system. So they were very well held through that whole process. And we went overseas. So we were living in Dunedin at the time, and we were getting a house ready to put on the market. And then in 2020, what happened. And then we decided, you know what, we're going to do it anyway, because we wanted to go overseas and world school the kids. And so we homeschooled for 4 years. And I there was so much about it that because we did a lot of deschooling, the unprogramming from
Yeah.
the system, from the broken system, because it's so broken. And we did a lot of deschooling. We did that for about 9 months, and then we kind of thought, okay, cool, we got to then try and recreate school at home. So we're like, and it became this kind of big stressful experience, because we're trying to, and we're like, oh my God, our kids aren't gonna, and all the beliefs and all the programs and then they've got to make grades, and we've got to do maths and science and and all these things that, and then we just went, you know what, this is too stressful. We're just going to radically unschool. So we radically unschooled for, well, that sort of next 3 years. And that was really great for them. But then at the end of that 3 years, because we went overseas and then went to Australia and then we came back home to New Zealand, everybody was ready for them to go back to school. So that was, yeah. And I was ready because my mum cup was like totally bone dry by that point.
Yeah.
And I needed to start filling it up because I was just like, I feel like I was like, my head just kept on
Yeah.
dipping underwater. So yeah, that was that in a nutshell. And they love it. They're so happy now. And having that structure we've recognized that us as a family need that structure.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's been a real blessing.
Yeah. I mean, that's great that they're able to transition from that environment. And it's actually it's so nice to hear, because some people get a bit fearful of, well, if I do that and then they won't be able to go back to mainstream or
Yeah.
school, whatever,
Mm,
or vice versa. But nothing's off the table, right? Like, you can do whatever you want. It's
yeah.
just, you obviously leaned into the feeling as a family that you're ready for a change from that time at home and that unschooling, which sounds like would have served you so perfectly in
Mm,
that period of time.
yeah.
Um, and then stepping into, yeah, and you're making a real conscious choice of where you're going to send them.
Mm, mm,
Um,
mm,
and yeah, and
yeah.
then you land at a Waldorf school, which is,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
um,
Exactly. And that was when we were in Australia, when we were looking, and we were looking everywhere. And I'm from here, and so that uh, was the obvious choice for us. Um, we wouldn't have sent them to. We maybe would have sent them to a mainstream school, but for us, the Steiner Waldorf education pathway, it just resonates with us so deeply. So that was it was just it was a no-brainer for us. We do a lot of traveling though, because we're so committed, as you do. As you know.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. Hmm.
5 days a week.
Yeah,
So yeah, and that was my like, oh, to begin with, because I just think, well, kids should just go to school, 3, 4 days a week, and then the rest of the time they're just out in the world.
yeah,
So I've had to do a huge amount of work around putting them back in there. Like, that was
yeah,
not an easy journey for me. I felt like I was failing them. I had so many. I felt like I really did. It was a really deep feeling like I had failed my children, because some people are really, really, really well built for home educating. I'm not. I'm not.
mm,
uh, and I'm a go out, let's go into the mountains. I'm not, let's sit down and let's do maths or kind of
yeah,
mum. So and that's what they really needed. They sort of needed that real focus time. So there was a lot that I had to work through to put them back into school. But I'm so glad that I did, because they're all just so much happier because of it. Not that they
yeah.
weren't happy before, but that the structure and what they experience, and all the magical things that happen at Waldorf. So yeah.
Yeah. And it's just having that consistency and a regular rhythm, a
Yes.
predictable rhythm that they know is going to happen
Yeah.
for their weekdays. And yeah, and I think there's a lot of people like you and I that travel because we've made a real conscious
Mm.
choice of wanting this education for our children. And um, even when it's a 50-minute journey, at least
Yeah.
each way, each day. So
Yeah.
um, we do these things. I think, yeah, more and more people are getting curious and asking questions about what education is and where they want their children to go. And yes, there's the convenience of the school two houses down the road, and that might be perfect, it might be wonderful, but it might not.
Yeah.
Because if you're not in tune with your own family values and really knowing your children and meeting their needs as well, just putting them into a convenient box is not always going to serve them. So
Mm.
um, I think
Mm.
yeah, when you're seeking something
Mm,
and it resonates, I don't know, there's a way it works out. Yes, there's
yeah,
a lot of, you just have to reframe it's a long drive into it's a good opportunity for connection or
yeah,
a good audio book or music or whatever it is. Yeah.
absolutely. Oh gosh, yes. And that's something that we had really experienced because we kids have been in the mainstream school, and we were like the black sheep because we were, we have got very different beliefs to a lot of people, and so that then creates a discord, around kids going into the school and what they're being taught, and all of there's so much that we didn't agree with, and so for us, it's yes, it's a lot of traveling, but it's so worth it,
Yeah.
beyond so worth it. Um, we just it's just built into our life now. It's at
Yeah.
first it was like, oh my gosh, but now it's just that's just what we do. So, and it's nothing.
That's right. And if it wasn't right, you'd feel the resistance and
Yes.
it wouldn't be, it would be reflected in how you're feeling or your children are feeling, but it works, right? Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's where you're meant to be or where they're meant to be. And yeah, grateful that it's even there. So,
Mm,
yeah,
mm,
it's,
the whole pathway.
yeah,
From like from for us, obviously, from kindy all the way through to high school. Like that's awesome, because I remember going to high school and my world had just kind of shattered, going, wow, you're this innocent child into high school. And so I love that about that. Well, where the kids go is that it's just through, and it's just they don't that their nervous system is so much more at peace because they aren't going through that. It's huge.
oh,
It's huge.
it is huge.
Yeah.
Just the role alone of the amount of children, I mean, in most of the high schools in the thousands, and I just can't even comprehend that when you come from a small town with only the same
Yeah,
population as a high school.
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
it,
Exactly.
yeah, it's pretty. Some children can navigate it easier than others. I don't know. They just have
Agree.
different, they're built differently. But
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I
Yeah.
was not one of them. I would
No.
not have done too well in a big high school, I don't think. But
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it's a it is a big thing though that in between, and like you're saying, the world educating, you want to world school your children,
Mm,
and why is it not just 3 or 4 days a week, right? Why does it need to be five? And
mhm, mm,
yeah,
mhm.
it's all
That's
the
a that's a big rabbit hole, that one, but we won't go there.
no, no, but it's
Yeah.
I mean, we've just come off the back of school holidays, and
Mm,
Maya said to me, why do we need, she actually asked that question, and not in a, oh, I don't want to go to school. It was just, why do we need to go for that
yeah.
many days? She's kind of asking herself or
Yeah.
asking whoever
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
question.
Good.
And it's like just sitting with that,
Mm,
thinking that we actually don't need to be there that long. So yeah, but it may be, well, hopefully it is these children, it's our children that can come forward and ask these big questions as they come into adulthood and rattle things a little bit and make a few,
exactly. Be the change and be the
yeah,
change breakers. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And our role is to be hold that space for them
Mm,
without too many shoulds. And it's tricky though, right?
yeah.
And I mean, you might be noticing it with your eldest, that teenage, well, your two boys, because they're similar in age, really.
Mm,
That shift into tweens and teens, and who am I? I want to be accepted. How do I fit in?
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's really, it's not always easy to watch because
Mm, mm,
you can see
mm.
things playing out, but of course we have perspective because we've got a few years on them, and
Yeah,
but our 13-year-old selves possibly would have, you're in that same space. So yeah, it's something that I'm finding
yeah,
navigating that
yeah,
and not, just sitting back a little bit and just knowing that we're there
yeah, yeah,
And anything can be discussed. There's
It
nothing off
is.
topic.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and then yeah.
yeah. And it's interesting because I look back and reflect on what I was like at my son's age. I was a rat bag, such a rat bag. And I'm like, man, you are so good. Not that we use the word good or bad or anything like that.
Yeah, I know what you
But in
mean.
my head, there's this dialogue that goes on, and I'm like, you're really innocent because I was not. I was so naughty. I was like, I was out into the world and just, yeah, and rebelling so much at that age. And so it's really, I just feel like I know that there's going to be a time when that comes and that rebelling, there's a bit more at this point. He's always been like super cruisy, really laid back, just go with the flow kind of kid. Now he's questioning me, and now he's like raising his voice and speaking up, and I'm like, whoa, okay, all right, that's really annoying but really good. you know yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So
I
I'm like, good, awesome, because that's what you need that fire to be able to, like, because he's just such a wants everybody to like him kind of kid, so then he doesn't like step up, and that has now he's starting to do that more at home, and I'm like, cool, okay, I want that to transfer over into the other world around him, that's big.
yeah. Yeah. No, I get that too.
mm,
Yeah.
mm.
Yeah, it's all of these complexities that they need to work through to add to their little kitty, their little toolkit of, you know, how to navigate life. But
Yeah.
mm, yeah, no, I definitely hear that.
Mm,
It's
mm.
mm,
Yeah.
yeah.
Nobody prepares us for this, do they?
No, they don't. And when you're merging, two families, yours, your partners, and your own, what you've come in with
Mm,
or without,
mm.
bringing that together, um, and but then also being in a non-mainstream system in terms of, that education, and there's so many intricacies along the way that you kind of having to move
Absolutely.
around.
Mhm.
And that's us as the parents. So, well, I mean, I think the children are in a space where they are very held as
Mm,
well, and they are really seen
mm.
at school, in a Waldorf school. They're striving to really, it's not just they know them, so
Yes.
they can meet them in whichever way they're best going to be, the best going to receive that and
Mm,
learn from. Yeah.
mm,
So
mm, Most definitely. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Very blessed
yeah,
that we even
everything.
have one here.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
yeah,
Yeah,
we're very blessed.
absolutely.
Yeah,
So
I very I'm so this great sense of relief that there is the high school aspect of it. I feel like that's the biggest piece for me is the high
yeah,
school,
yeah.
because that's when kids just start going wild and really off the handle. I didn't like school. I left really early because I was not built for school. So yeah, I really hope my children just stay through and just stay the course, and they actually want to.
Mm,
That's the biggest thing is that they actually want to do that.
yeah, which is amazing.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure. I mean, with you at that age saying you're rebelling, but you're rebelling maybe not just against your family, but the system and the constructs
Yeah.
and constraints that you're coming up against that you don't fully understand. No one's explained it to you, on all levels, like
Yes.
not,
Yeah.
and so you're feeling that, but um, our children now more and more with their parents that understand that and have been through that, and we're not putting the constraints on, we're just holding that
Mm.
space for them. There is that growth they need to go through, and a little bit of pushing, and that those boundaries, because those boundaries need to go out, or those limits
Yeah.
need to go out, so they can, here I am, world, like, come
Yeah.
and what have you got for me? But it doesn't always, I don't think it necessarily needs to be a really hard, oh my God, they're teenagers, they're going to be awful. They're
Mm.
going to grow
Mm.
and evolve and become these big, beautiful beings,
Yeah.
step into what they're here to do.
Yeah.
But it doesn't always have to be a constant battle and a constant challenge. they'll be growing and there'll be challenges, but it's in a more healthy way, I think. It doesn't always have to be, I'm dropping out of school early and I need to fill a void with some kind of something,
Mm,
substance or whatever it is,
mm.
because the need for them to do that isn't really there if they're being met in other ways.
Yeah, agree. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's often a discovering who you are and you don't know yourself as a
Mm,
teenager. Like, who am I? And like, am I emerging out of this cocoon? Like, what does that even look like?
yeah.
But if your people, your main people can see you,
Mm,
yes, I see you, and you're this,
mm,
look at this beautiful butterfly you're becoming, or whatever.
yeah.
Um, it's permission to, you know, whatever way that butterfly looks like, whatever color, however how many wings, like whatever,
Yes.
whatever um frequency it's like driving to. So
Mm, mm, mm.
yeah, I think it can be a beautiful process. Well, here I am, I'm still at the beginning as well. Jack's only 14, but that process of teenagehood, I'm not going in it with
Yeah.
fear.
Yeah.
I'm excited
Absolutely.
for him.
And I
Yeah,
feel like a big part of that is just that constant open dialogue with them. Uh, it's interesting because my eldest and my youngest are like chalk and cheese, totally, completely different. My second, I can't shut up. He does not stop talking. It's just constant like he's always talking, always like communicating. He's a great communicator. My eldest, I have to like pry stuff out of him.
yeah,
But that's the big piece that we've worked on for many years, but he's definitely getting better at articulating his feelings and how he's what he's processing, putting words to that an emotion, like
yeah,
working that piece out. He has APD, so which is audio processing disorder. So we've had a massive journey with that, since child, like he was a baby, but we
mhm,
never, so that's been in his 13. So that's been a huge journey for us and understanding his world. And so uh, he had really withdrawn and really gone inward into his own world. And so that's been a journey trying to try firstly understanding that that's what was happening to him, but then also um, showing, you know, I mean, like there was so many times where I couldn't give him more than one step to do
yeah,
because it
mhm,
would just totally overwhelm him. Um, or I'd be thinking he's not listening to me. So we've had to work so deeply with him and his social cues and all of the things. And so now he's um we're constantly having, and because we've got that long trip in the morning and in the afternoon, there's just like that's such a great touchstone
yes,
for opening that communication. And really, and we have like the scale, we're like, how was your day today? And because they're boys and they kind of just sometimes good, it was good. And so like, okay, what was it between a 1 and a 10? And usually it sort of sits between a 7 and a 10. I don't think it's ever dropped, maybe once below. And so that has been a really great tool for us because then I can gauge exactly where they're at without too much communication
yeah,
going on to overwhelm their
uh-huh,
brains, because their brains are like taking in so much at the moment, and then they're having to verbalize that, and then it's just too much.
mm.
So that's been a really great tool.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you can kind of tell, can't you? The minute they get in the car, it's
Yeah.
like, okay, no questions for at least the first 15 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
let them sit and arrive.
Yeah.
Whereas Maya, yeah, same. Da-da-da-da-da. Won't shut up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bouncy and bubbly.
Yeah. They ever. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Love it.
so, but when they know that we know,
Mm.
like when they can recognize, oops, mum's got it, that it's
Yeah.
I'm having don't, I don't want to talk right now.
Yeah.
And you can like, okay, that's okay.
Yeah.
Just give
Yeah.
them that, yeah,
Yep.
that space.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
And so with your children now all at school,
Mm.
that's opened your world up as well. What are you doing now in terms of, I know you've had many journeys with your work, but what is it that you're doing now?
Mm. So I have a number of different offerings that I support women with. Uh, I do a lot of like sacred branding for women who are starting their really beautiful mission led businesses. So that's been something that's happened really organically. I mean, I have a background in the wellness world, so I trained 23 years ago in massage therapy and somatic therapies and beauty therapy, and so I've come from that world, and that's just really organically evolved
Hmm.
into what I'm doing now, because I've been and had my business for 10 years, and I had to create all my branding. I had to do all of that. I didn't have the capacity to go and well, actually did. I did a number of times saying that, employ graphic designers, but it wasn't encoded for me. It wasn't like, and so what has happened very organically is working with the Syrian Council of Light. I receive these light codes for just the collective in general, but then also I tune into people's high consciousness and work with my high consciousness, and we pull together these codes that come through for them, and these are these soul codes. And so that has been, and so people can use them in their in their social media or on their websites, or and so that's been a really beautiful organic journey that is just naturally people have approached me and asked me to work with them. And so I've trusted. I've been put in the current, and the current's just taking me along with that one. And so then I've also done a lot of spiritual mentorship as well. So really allow holding that sort of space for women to tune into and really access all of their clairs, and opening up their channel, and working with the quantum and the multidimensional field. And so that's a part of what I offer. And then I also do online business mentorship as well. So just also a lot of the energetics around business, and then the back end of the masculine energy of the tools and the structure and the strategy and all the things that we can really not have when we're really soul led, and we're like amazing at what we're doing, but then we don't have the back end, that sort of masculine, because we can't have one without the other. So that's
Yeah.
been a really big part of my journey, because I was I had bricks and mortar. I was making this really beautiful organic skincare products that I was distributing through Australia and New Zealand, and it was just it's just all flowy and beautiful, and then I was like, just throwing spaghetti at the wall, I'd have great months, and then I'd go and then I have great months. And so I just didn't have that structure and that strategy and that tools. And so what kind of happened really naturally is when we sold our house, we were going overseas, and I had really placed deep trust in shutting my clinic down, and putting a pause on my products. Is I needed to create an income in the online space, because I didn't want to be. We wanted to be
Mm.
location free. And so I really explored all sorts of different options. And then when I can't, I think I maybe connected with this woman in the online space, and then she showed me a company called Enagic, which I'm partnered with now, and they basically make medical grade water ionizers over in Japan. And
Mhm.
so I partnered with them, and 3.5 years later, it's been like the most profound journey. I'm so in love with this company, and so basically, what happens is I support women through that channel to firstly get these phenomenal water ionizers in their homes that basically take your tap water and turn it into like really hydrogen rich, high in antioxidants, really high in molecular hydrogen, all that. There's so much. It's really it's had 50 years of science behind it. And then so what happens is they are they get these products in their home, because we wanted these products way before I found out about the opportunity, because I went down the big rabbit hole of water and then landed there. And then I help women to start their business through that channel as well. And so it's been really an abundant, very it's given me a community, and that's been the biggest part of my journey. Is well, not the biggest part, but a huge part of my journey is um, feeling like I'm just on that entrepreneur hamster wheel, and not having community, and not having hand holding, and having, I spent thousands and thousands and thousands on different mentorship containers, but then you would go into the mentorship, you would take the codes, you would learn the information, and then that once that container was finished and complete, then you would take that information and then apply it to your life, and sometimes you'd lose bits in there. Whereas this is really different. When somebody comes and works with me and starts their business with me, then I literally mentorship them for the life of their business, and that's what they get. And it's been such um, a and it's always been really interesting to try and explain that to people, because you can never really explain it well enough, because it's
Yeah.
such a, like, I just feel so deeply held through my darkest moments. Through we had went through some really big stuff 2 3 years ago, life or death stuff, and I was so deeply held within this community through that. um, so yeah, and I'm through that channel, I'm about to go to Japan in 2 months time, and so I'm so excited to like go there and experience this company. So that's sort of it in a nutshell. I sort of have multiple different offerings, and I love it because I just couldn't lock myself into one thing and be like, I just do this, because
Yeah.
that's not how I'm built. I'm built for many things.
Yeah.
And we get to be multi-passionate, and that's, I love that. I love that when we work for ourselves, we get to follow our calling. And then at some point in probably within the next year, one of my greatest journeys has been working with the plant realm, and so I'm going to be showing and sharing what they hold. We've got a beautiful forest next to us, and that's why we
Hmm.
moved here, is because
Hmm.
the forest called me. And so I'm working with the trees and teaching people how to actually communicate, because that was my world as a child.
Yeah.
I didn't know any different. The trees were always communicating. I know you know.
I know.
I know you know. And the water. And so that's a huge, like, that's for me. So this big calling, and it's percolating at the moment.
I love it.
Yeah, it's coming.
Good.
And it feels really big and juicy and amazing, and it's showing people how to work with the water and the water consciousness, and working with the land, and working with the different trees and all their personalities, because some are elders and some are guardians, and
Mm,
some are mother trees and some are grandmother trees, and there's so much they can
yeah.
teach us. So
Oh,
that's in a really tight
amazing.
nutshell.
How exciting though. Oh gosh, there's so many things. And for each of your offerings, you just like you light up even more and more. It's just you're radiating, like you can tell this multi-passionate for sure because you're
So much fun.
loving.
Yeah.
That's the key, that isn't it? You're loving what you're doing.
Mm,
It
mm,
fills you up. You're just so, you know, um,
yeah.
rather than like sucking the life out of you. And isn't that just how, wouldn't it be amazing if that's how it was
Mm,
for every single person, that what they did, they absolutely loved,
yeah. Yeah.
whatever it was, whatever the role was, but
Mm,
as long as it filled you and yet you
absolutely.
felt exactly how you are showing
Yeah.
us.
It's taken a lot though to get to that point though, and that's what I feel like a lot of people kind of forget, is that it's actually, I've been in this space for 23 years, and I've been in business for 10. This did not To get
Yeah.
here did not happen overnight. It took
Mm,
me getting really uncomfortable so many times, but just knowing that I had a high calling,
yeah.
and being able to take a step and listen. And I invested in some mentors, and then I then took another step, and and so it's each time, and we're continuing to, we don't
Absolutely.
stop. So that has yeah, and so that's for people sort of at that beginning journey of, they're coming out of their motherhood slumber, and that walking through the trenches of motherhood, and coming through the other side of it. It's like just I remember when I was looking at my opening my skincare range, and a friend said to me, Heidi, just if you just invest $500 and go buy some products and go not products ingredients and just start playing, and you'll feel it, and you'll feel the how the products feel together, and you'll start refining your formulas. And then and then I just gave them to a few people, and they were like, oh my gosh, these are amazing. And it evolved really organically and naturally. And it's the same with anything, if you just
Yeah.
keep following that next best feeling, you cannot go wrong, because that's your heart leading you. So
Yeah. I love
yeah.
that. The next best feeling. So good.
Mm, mm,
And it's also, like in motherhood, we often we have a tendency to put on our super mum capes and I can do it all. And we're not really designed fully to have to do it all on our own. It's a construct that's been created, but so same with mothering, that we do need the village. Sometimes we do need to, it's okay to ask for help or say, I've had no sleep or I need whatever it is. It's okay to say yes
yeah,
to the offering. And it's the same with stepping into another form of creation, another baby in the form of a business or whatever it is, venture. You ask for help
yeah,
and
yeah,
seek the guidance or the mentorship, because otherwise it can be I don't know, for me it's been the same, like years of like just muddling along.
yeah,
I
yeah,
am like
yeah,
following the heart, but it's like
yes,
it's so much more helpful when you do have that sacred container of support or community, at least community, where you can bounce ideas off. And
mm,
but when you feel like you're held in that space and it just keeps you moving along, and if the goal is there's different paths that can get there. It can be the very long scenic route, could
yeah,
be
yeah,
more direct.
yeah.
um so yeah, knowing there are people out there that can provide this
Mm,
guidance if you seek it is good. So
mm,
where
mm.
would people be able to best find you?
Yeah. So I am on uh, Instagram at heidi.timms.wellness, uh, on Facebook as Heidi Timms Wellness, or my personal profile is Heidi Timms. And then I just have my website as well, which is Heidi Timms, which is HeidiTimms.com. And so
Yeah,
it's just sort of the places that people can connect. And yeah, yeah.
perfect.
Mm,
I'll
mm.
pop all that in the show notes below, so
Cool.
other people can go and have a
Mm,
wee look and
amazing.
see all these amazing magical things that you
Yeah.
have in the world, which we're very blessed to have. It's so exciting.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. I'm
Yeah.
right back at you. And this is amazing. And it's 11:11. And
Of course
having,
it is.
yeah, of course it is, because that's how it works, isn't it? What else? Thank you.
Yes, yes. And one last thing I do like
Yeah.
to ask people is it's probably hard for you to narrow it down, but what is something that really keeps your soul full? What's your soul filling thing that you do for you?
Uh, that is my non-negotiable, is going into my forest.
Mhm.
That is, I could be in the pits, and I will go into the forest, and the trees will. I had a healing from a tree the other day, and that was so for me. That's my
Mm,
place.
I
I
love
have
that.
actually introduced, and I've never been an exercisey kind of girl, but I have introduced uh, a running into my world, which I never ever thought I'd say. And that has been also really helping with my mental health, because we
Yeah.
go through these moments. There's so much.
Mm-hmm.
So that has really helped me on my journey, my humaning. So yeah, the
Evening.
forest and body, even if it's cranking up the music and just dancing or shaking or
Moving.
releasing
Yeah. Love
body.
it.
It's all about that movement, to shift your mindset. So yeah.
Ah, beautiful.
Mm,
Love that.
mm.
Oh, Heidi, I could talk to you for
Yeah.
ages.
Oh,
Uh, but thank you so,
thank
so much for coming and sharing just your breath of fresh air, just the wisdom and just normalizing
you.
light.
Yep.
Just the word I got. Just,
Mm.
this is also part of who we are and what we're here to do. And I love these conversations. So yeah, very grateful to
Thank you for
you.
having me. That was
Oh,
wonderful. Great
yeah.
chat.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
See ya.
See ya. Wow, amazing, isn't she? Gee, I love that conversation. It's a topic, well, many of the topics I love to talk about, but we could have chatted on and on for quite some time. In fact, we did after I stopped recording. I thought, oh, I could have added more of this in. Anyway, another time. We will have her back another time. So to narrow it down, it's really hard to find a few takeaways. But I've got the importance of moving into your own higher state of truth so you can hold that for your children. Number 3, we are birthing magical beings into the world, and they're choosing us to be their guardians. And Heidi did use this as an example of how her own experience, how she felt. But I truly feel, and I know many others do too, this is the essence of what we're doing. And it's how exciting, how amazing, how incredible, and that how it all aligns, that our children, somehow or another, they made their way to be with us in this time and space. So magical, but by design at the same time. Number 3, the importance of having a community in family life and in business. And one more, and I love this one, when she mentioned keep following the next best feeling. It is our hearts that are leading us. So beautiful. So yeah, really grateful to Heidi for her time and her sharing her heart so generously with us. And yeah, there's so much in there, and you'll probably want to go back and listen again perhaps, and tune in a little bit deeper. And yeah, in the meantime, you can probably hear the rain outside. I'm recording it outside in the rain. And yeah, have a beautiful, beautiful soul-filling day. If this episode resonates with you, if it aligns, if you have more questions about it, please reach out. And Heidi's details are all in the show notes. She's Heidi Timms, basically, as a website and her socials. So you'll find her. She's got some beautiful, beautiful work, and her offerings are absolutely glorious. Yeah, and share the episode. And if you feel so inclined, do subscribe to the podcast so, more and more people can find us and hear these stories and learn and grow, and, our village expands. So it's all about that. And you know how to get hold of me, Maria at Parenting with Soul. Remember, I've got that offering starting tomorrow night. I would love to see you there if you'd like to join us. You'd be so welcome. But in the meantime, do what lights you up. Have a beautiful, soul-filling day ahead. And I will see you next week.